PokeBabs! Welcome back to PokeBabs. We're going into round 5 here of the August PokeBeach tournament, and we're playing that Medicham Carbink deck up against ZoopidZut. And we saw that they also have Fighting and Colorless as their Pokemon types. Could it be a mirror match? Could be interesting. I think that would be a very interesting match, actually. Now, we do play Focus Sash, which is kind of negated if they play Medicham, because they attack twice, even if they... I mean, it would make it so they can't get double knockouts as easily, but they could still take knockouts. And we do see they start Carbink as well, but a Lucario on the field as well as the Meditite, so obviously a slightly different build. Now, we see a Shaman coming down early, which is interesting. Since we only play the one Shaman, obviously I'm a lot more prone to want to not put down Shamans. Well, we don't need to. But we do see them putting down Shaman early. We still Ultra Ball discarding a Sycamore and a Lysander. So I wonder why they are... Maybe they have an end. Maybe they want to preserve something in their hand. Perhaps they have another Sycamore. Who knows? But they do grab another Meditite. And the energy did go into Carbink. We see a Sycamore, wow, getting rid of 2 VS Seekers, so maybe now I understand why they went for the Shaman, but it's possible that it only drew them into more stuff they didn't want to discard. So now we see a Floatstone, and will that come down this turn? The Floatstone does come down onto Carbink. And we'll see what happens. Maybe they just pass. They do. Onto us. Now, they obviously have the advantage because they can evolve next turn. Start attacking with the Carbink break. But I'm not too concerned about getting knocked out next turn because they attach to Carbink. That said, our hand is not fantastic. We could put down Regirock, we could put down a Floatstone. I don't know if it's necessarily worth it at this point since we aren't attacking. But if we get End, I'd rather have the Regirock down. So, I don't know. Now, it's also likely that since they probably play a Karina engine similar to us, they could be playing a Megaphone. But we do play 2 Floatstone. So we'll put it down. We could get an energy attachment off this turn. We could opt to wait. I'm going to opt to wait. And that's just because if we do get like an Ultra Ball or a Sycamore, then I would rather just get the energy in the discard pile. And so we don't really need to attach anywhere anyway. If we had a Meditite, I'd probably attach to the Meditite, honestly. But we didn't get a Meditite down. And so we're just going to await our fate here. Man, yeah, not a very eventful turn for us, but our opponent having to discard a lot of resources early, so late game, if they need a Lysander or something like that, they might not be able to find it. And we'll see if we can even make it to late game. We see a strong energy going down onto the Meditite with a Focus Sash. Will we see a break this turn? Our opponent also playing Trainer's Mail, which is interesting. Trainer's Mail would help the consistency of the deck, definitely. But I'm wondering if they don't play many Karina. Not sure. I think Karina is fairly essential for this deck. And I'm not sure what my opponent's trying to decide here. Maybe they're trying to figure out, do they want to discard? We see another Carbink coming down. We do see the Megaphone. So good to know that they do play one. Hopefully only one. We do see an End there, which is fantastic. We needed a fresh hand. Although we didn't get that energy attached, unfortunately. And wow, we get a hand that reminds me a little bit of our opponent's hand. We see a Hex Maniac off the Trainer's Mail. So we did thankfully get another Floatstone, which is good, but we may have to discard 2 VS Seekers of our own, unfortunately. See a retreat into Meditite? Interesting. So we just see a Smack for 40. And that does put them in a situation where their Meditite could get knocked out. We're going to put down a Floatstone, we're going to put down a Fighting Stadium, and I will just discard that strong energy with a Sycamore. Most likely we will be drawing into an energy. And we'll see what we get here. Can we get some good stuff? We see Meditite. We do not get the Carbink break, though. So we could attach an energy here. Probably not a bad idea. And probably just onto Meditite. Now, if we did attach to Meditite, it would make it possible for them to smack us for a knockout. But I think it's a risk I'm willing to take. Again, if we lose the energy because we get knocked out, then our Carbink is just more powered up. And the Versus Seeker next turn is almost certainly going to go for a Sycamore. Now we do see an N though, so that's good. For the most part, that's a good thing. Hopefully we will get something we need here. Our opponent just needs a Medicham to be able to attack us this turn. We see a Battle Compressor out of them. What do they opt to discard? Do they go for some energy like we would go for? Already down two VS Seekers. Will they put supporters in? We see another Battle Compressor and a Fighting Energy, I believe, as well as a Karina. Okay. So the question is, did they get a Medicham though? If not, there could be an opening for us to make a huge play here. We could actually Power Gem for a knockout if we can find a startling Megaphone. We see a Versus Seeker. That's the third one for our opponent for Karina, but they can't play it this turn. I'm a little curious why they would choose to play the Versus Seeker right now. We just see a smack, not even getting a knockout here. And if we can get a Megaphone, well, unfortunately we don't get a Megaphone. But if we could have got a Megaphone, we could have Power Gemmed for the knockout. We would still like to Power Gem this turn though, as we can power up a Meditite, and we can put a Focus Sash on that Meditite too to make sure that it is not as easily knocked out. So there is only one energy in the discard pile though. I still think it's right to go for this Power Gem, but see, maybe our opponent will end us yet again. I guess opting not to put down the Focus Sash. I think it's probably best to put down the Focus Sash here, but I'm opting not to, I guess. And I'm hoping our opponent does have to like NS or something, because they clearly didn't. They didn't have the Medicham that turn, which is great. And we do put the energy onto Meditite. We have a Hex Maniac in hand, which at the moment is not helpful. There's a Karina out of our opponent, most likely grabbing a Medicham, and what else do they grab? Unfortunately, we did only do 30 damage that turn, so maybe it would have been better to go for the Storm Energy, because our opponent will have the opportunity to Yoga Kick and then use, I'm blanking, Calm Mind. Use Calm Mind to heal the 30 damage off of themselves, revitalizing that Focus Sash. And we do see the Carbink break. What else do we see here? Again, I'd love to see an N, but they did play Karina. Yeah, Sycamore would actually be a good top deck for us, for sure too. VS Seeker, Sycamore, and even an Ultra Ball. I'd probably be willing to go for a Shaman at this point. We do see a Calm Mind and a Yoga Kick, so well played by our opponent there. Going to promote Halucha because of free retreat, and we get another Focus Sash, and so not a great spot to be in for sure. I'm not really even sure what I want to do. I think I'm going to end up passing the turn with something like a Regirock, or maybe, so they only did 50 damage. with Medicham. Could pass the turn with something like a Regirock up, or maybe just put a Focus Sash on Hawlucha and leave Hawlucha up. They would have to use both attacks to knock us out. And meanwhile, we could power up Carbink or a Regirock. Regirock, obviously not the ideal attacker, but it might be important to get energy on him anyway in case we need to manually retreat at some point. And we'll just go for the Hexmaniac. It's a sort of a dead card in our hand anyway, so might as well just toss it out. And what does our opponent do? I would assume they will just knock out the Hawlucha with 2 Yoga Kicks. So we see a VS Seeker out of our opponent. That's actually their 4th VS Seeker in order to Lysander up Meditite. Now, we didn't put a Focus Sash on Meditite, so they will be able to knock it out. And that is definitely not ideal. But that said, they are out of VS Seekers, which could mean they're out of Lysanders, and could mean that we have a lot more. We can feel a lot more safe in the future with what we put up. So they do hit the Hawlucha for 50, and we draw the Medicham right there. So maybe it would have been better to hold on, but even still, I mean, just not really wouldn't have been a great situation still, probably, and we would have gotten a prize, I suppose. Opponent does have 4 prizes, and we're going to put a strong energy onto Regirock. Maybe Regirock is the way to go. And I think we'll just end our turn here. They'll knock out Hawlucha, and then we'll probably promote maybe Regirock, maybe Carbink. Not sure which would be better. Obviously not a great start from us. But our opponent has burnt through a lot of resources. Do see a Yoga Kick for a knockout, and we'll send up Carbink, I suppose. We don't really want to hurt our own. We don't want to have our attacker get hurt. So yeah. And it looks like they play. Interesting. So they play Scorched Earth as their stadium. Perhaps they also play a Fighting Stadium or 2, but it looks like they also play Scorched Earth. Could come in handy for us, discarding energy, powering up Carbink, getting some more draw. And just waiting on our opponent here, waiting for them to Yoga Kick, as they inevitably will do. But at 3 to 6 prizes, this is just not a great start for us. Now, I think we could still start to dig our way out if we can get a draw supporter soon. It's very important that we can do that. We do see the Yoga Kick for 50. The other interesting thing is, yeah, so we do draw the break, and this could be good because if they can't get a strong energy down, they're going to actually have to use their entire turn to double knockout or to take the knockout with a double hit. So hopefully they don't find anything. We do see Muscle Band, so they also play Muscle Band in addition. The Muscle Band probably is advantageous in a matchup against another Medicham deck. And it just makes it all the more important that we do get our Focus Sashes down so that we don't get double knocked out. And we do see the double Yoga Kick, bringing our opponent down, wow, to 2 prizes. And this game got ugly pretty fast. And let's see, we're going to send up Regirock, obviously, and we do get a Professor's Letter, so we will be able to attack. It is our last energy, or last basic energy in deck, which means we've got 1 prize. We'll go for the Bedrock Press for 100. Not going to actually take a knockout, though, because of that Focus Sash, and unfortunately, our own Fighting Stadium is going to be hurting us now as they can attack us. They can do 20 extra damage. And right now, so Bedrock Press makes each of their attacks do 30 less, though. So they're doing 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, minus 30, plus 20 more there. Plus, wow, 20 more. Is that even enough for a knockout, though? Yeah, it is. So they do 90 twice, and they will take a knockout. Wow, so we got swept 6-0 there. And I think part of it was drawing dead toward the end, but a lot of it was also just the fact that they got to go first, got a setup. So we will go into game 2, and definitely I'll be going first here. Maybe we can make a comeback. It is sort of the way that we tend to have to do things. Alrighty, so we're gonna go into game 2 here, and we will be able to go first here, which is pretty important, I would say. Getting our Carbink set up early, getting our Medichams out. And it looks like our opponent may not actually play the Regirocks, so that could be an advantage we have over our opponent. Now, we have the awkward option or awkward choice of choosing between Meditite and Regirock, but I think because of the nature of the matchup, we know that they aren't probably going to be damaging us much turn 1, so I'm willing to put down a Meditite, and then, wow, okay, so they do play the Regirock. We do draw into a Shaman, which could be pretty important here. We might want to play it right now just to make sure we can get some more stuff going, because we just don't have a great hand at all. And we do get double Battle Compressor. Not fantastic, but we'll be able to get some stuff. We will make it so that we have a better chance of drawing good cards here. We will get rid of a Sycamore so that we can hopefully top deck something like a VS Seeker. We'll get rid of probably at least one Strong Energy. We do have double Compressor, so got some options here. Probably going to want to get some of our other techie type of supporters. We're going to get a Karina and perhaps a Lysander as well. AZ, Hex Maniac, all these things. Hex we don't really, probably won't be using in this matchup, so good to get rid of that. And I think it's best to play both Battle Compressors. So this one, like I said, I think probably going to get rid of an Energy. And probably something like AZ. So Lysander and all these are probably good options. We'll get rid of Meanwhile, I'm noticing it looks like we've got maybe a Medicham or two I think maybe one Medicham prized. Let's see, so just kind of one of those things where you gotta think ahead with this. Do want to thin out as much as I can, but I'm just gonna opt for those two cards here, and we're just gonna pass. Now, the nice thing about our opponent starting Regirock is that they do have to find a way to retreat out of it. We do know they play Floatstone, but they will have to find a way to retreat out in order to do any attacking. So we might have that might buy us another turn or two. We see a Carbink coming down, which must have been their top deck. Strong Energy going on to Carbink. We do have a Xerosic though, so we could discard the Strong Energy. Not sure how important that would be. We see a Shaman setting up for 2. And they do get a Floatstone, unfortunately. They also get a Meditite down. If they couldn't have found a Meditite, that could have also helped us out by buying us some more time. We see a Professor Sycamore. Getting rid of another VS Seeker, and they also play Switch. And we see Trainer's Mail. Not grabbing them anything. Focus Sash coming down onto the Meditite, which makes a lot of sense. Battle Compressor. What do they want to get rid of with this Battle Compressor? And we see Lysander, I think. A Hex Maniac and an Energy, I think. And just passing on to our turn. Not even retreating, which is, I think a mistake probably. Because now we have the opportunity to attack and then also Xerosic their Floatstone. And then that way they can't retreat this next turn. And we may be able to get out to a really nice lead, taking the knockout on Regirock and then hitting something else. So I think that's probably a bit of a mistake from our opponent there not to retreat. So we are going to just yoga kick for 80 twice, just a little bit shy of that knockout. But I don't think that's a problem. I think it's actually better that it's stuck in the active, because it will allow us to draw 2 prizes and then attack a second time. Unless, of course, our opponent does find another floatstone. We know they already discarded a switch. So we see another Meditite come down. The break is down as well. We see another strong energy coming onto the break, which is a very interesting decision. Our opponent not having an AZ or opting not to play it, I'm not sure. Yeah, not having an AZ in the discard. So they are just going to Sycamore. And we'll see, did they find the floatstone or not? Appears that they did not. They just passed the turn to us, and we top deck a Versus Seeker. Wow, that is really clutch. We're going to definitely grab Professor Sycamore for sure. We're going to play that. We're going to get down to Meditite. We've got a Carbink. We've got a Strong Energy. We've got a Fighting Stadium. So finally things are looking a little bit more on the positive side. And I don't even think that we're going to get knocked out next turn. So I think we're going to be able to run rampant with this Medicham for a little bit, probably taking as many as 4 prizes. We're definitely going to take 2 this turn and then hit another thing, probably the Carbink break, I would assume. Now, I would imagine that our opponent will send up the Carbink break. I don't know what else they would send up. We could put the energy. Yeah, I don't know. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna grab a Carbink break with, or actually I'm gonna grab the Regirock. So okay, it's kind of interesting, but the reasoning behind a Regirock is because of it all has to do with the amount of damage that I can do. By doing this, I basically make it so that they can't. So whatever they send up the second time is going to get probably knocked out. So see, I end up doing 110 here. So if he sends up the Carbink break, it gets knocked out. So I don't think that would be what he would want to do. If he sends up the Shaman, it gets knocked out because I hit through resistance. If he sends up a Meditite, so it also gets knocked out. He could have sent up the Medicham, but it wouldn't get knocked out, but it would be down to 10 HP with no energy attached. So basically forced their hand into just something that made it so that they are now in a really, really bad position. We're down to 3 prizes already. So we did actually get to take 3 prizes that turn there, but we're also going to be able to take 1 prize next turn and then get a hit in on probably. Okay, so actually we see a Lysander bring up Regirock, and we need something like a VS Seeker for an AZ, or we need a Karina finding another Floatstone. So we do see Carbink break, and unfortunately we don't get what we need here. We could attach energy to Regirock, but I think I'm okay with just sort of letting it fall. I don't really want to do that, obviously, but we could get like a Carbink break set up, perhaps. I think it's definitely worth putting down an energy somewhere. Question is where. We could put it on a Meditite or a Carbink. So either we attack with Carbink break next turn or Medicham. I mean, I think as soon as we can attack with Medicham again, we will do so. So just trying to figure out where the best place to put this energy is. And I think it's okay to assume that Regirock is probably just a lost cause. Because I would assume that they're going to retreat into the Medicham next turn, and then they can take a knockout on Regirock. So I will play the Ultra Ball, just because we are susceptible to N at the moment. And this way I have a Carbink break set up, and we can start powering up stuff. I think with this kind of a deck, with this deck in particular, once you have a Carbink break with an energy on it, you're sort of N proof. I mean, you can still be hurt by N, but it's not nearly as bad. So, plus we're down to 2 cards. I don't know if our opponent would even want to N us, especially since we didn't play a supporter. But yeah, We'll see here if they end us. We're actually like happy about it at this point. We see a Sycamore again. And what do they get rid of here? Couldn't really tell exactly what they got rid of, but they are down to 17 cards. This game looking a lot more in our favor for sure. Interesting to see how much the tides changed there between the two games. And are we going to see the retreat? I would imagine so. They can do 50. Wow. Okay, actually, so at the moment they're actually not even getting a knockout. Hey guys, sorry about that. So what happened there was my opponent actually disconnected, or something went wrong there, and fortunately we were not able to complete the game. I do think that I was probably going to win that game, and so we decided to give me the win for the round and just go on to, or for the game, and just go on to game 3 with my opponent starting first. So that is unfortunate. It's not really how you want to see games go, but we're going to go into game 3, and I mean, this is going to decide everything for the round. I mean, it could decide a lot in the tournament. Getting 4 wins puts you in that possibility for a top 8 range. And 2 losses can, I mean, 2 losses doesn't necessarily put you out of the opportunities for top 8, but the 2 losses is definitely puts a lot of pressure on the final round. We do see an end from our opponent, and we don't have a great hand, but we do have 2 Metatites, we do have Focus Ashes, and our opponent didn't get an energy attachment down. Another great thing is we did top deck that Carbink break, so I'm not going to actually attach this turn because we can't attack. So I'll just wait a turn. This is one of those little sort of small plays that I think sometimes newer players would just want to attach energy, just try and make sure you're always attaching energy. But if we attach an energy, it's possible our opponent plays Enhanced Hammer, or they play a Zero Sick, they discard the energy, and then we have literally nothing. At least this way we'll, at the very least, be able to get off an attack next turn with the Carbink break. And at the most we've saved ourselves an energy that could have been lost, and then essentially just put us back a ton of turns. So we see a Focus Sash, we see a Float Stone, we see an energy. Okay, yeah, so our opponent does not opt to do the smack this turn, which is probably good. Now, I am going to discard that Float Stone, and I think that's pretty important. We're going to attach the Strong Energy just because at this point I do want to start doing damage when I can. Even 40 damage on a Lucario could be really important later. It could be an easy 2 prizes to get with a Lysander, so definitely the play to go for there. Now, our opponent, because Lucario is an EX, cannot affect us without them using Hex Maniac. We see a Startling Megaphone, but we do have 2 more Focus Ashes in hand, so we don't mind that too much. We'd much rather they use a Startling Megaphone on a single Focus Ash than 2 or 3 or Float Stones and stuff like that, so works for us. Again, discarding a Sycamore. And this Ultra Ball will be getting out of Medicham. Seems like a fairly safe play from our opponent. Now, do they have another energy drop? They did only get 1. Find it interesting that they opted not to. And they discarded the Sycamore again. So, okay, they're going to Versus Seeker for Karina. Okay. Alright. And the Karina's going to grab, I would imagine, a Carbink, maybe a Float Stone. Maybe they wouldn't want to grab Float Stone. I'm not sure. I don't know how many Float Stone they play. But yeah, well, actually, a Carbink and a Switch. So that seems like an okay option, I suppose. Yeah. Okay, so they don't even play the Switch this turn, which I think is the right thing to do. Now we can put down our Focus Ashes, which is nice. And we got a top deck Sycamore, which is awesome. And we're going to evolve. Unfortunately, we don't have energy in the discard pile. But we are going to be able to put down a Fighting Stadium to do more damage. And now I'm going to attach to the Medicham that's got the Focus Sash, just because we're not going to be attaching energy from the discard pile, and so I suppose it's good to just manually power up this other one. Now, I didn't put down that Focus Sash just in case they have another Megaphone, And we're going to see Medicham come up. But I don't think that... I mean, they do need a Regirock or another strong energy to take a knockout. So it's possible. Or they also play Muscle Band, right? So they could take a knockout with a Muscle Band. That way they can do 70 twice. Getting through that Focus Sash. Did they hit what they needed, though? I think it's kind of... yeah, I mean, because they played Switch, they had to switch first. And so Float Stone might have been nice in that situation. But I'm guessing that they don't want their Float Stone on the Lucario. And we do have a Versus Seeker for a Sycamore next turn. And all we're going to see is a double Yoga Kick. Now, this opens us up for the opportunity to take a knockout on their Medicham with the Yoga Kicks. And I think that's absolutely massive. We're going to be wanting to... get a strong energy this turn so that we can take the knockout. And there's only 2 left on our deck. And so... even though normally I would be discarding strong energies and stuff like that, in this particular situation, I don't think that's the way to go. Because I'm really going to try and dig for a strong energy to get a knockout. If I can get the knockout on the Medicham this turn, puts us in a massively good situation. And not only a good situation to win the game, or get ahead in the game, but to win the whole series. So it's kind of important. Don't screw it up. And just going to discard a bunch of tech supporters here. And then we will Versus Seeker, definitely for that Sycamore though. We'll play the Sycamore, and alright, we got the strong energy, so that's really fantastic. We can retreat and double Yoga Kick for a knockout on this Medicham because it's only got 90 HP. And then our opponent doesn't have a whole lot they can retaliate with. They can't take a knockout very easily. And then in addition, yeah, I don't think putting down the Regirock is all that wise at this point. Although we do have Karina, so we probably could Float Stone, but I just don't think it's necessary. But yeah, the Yoga Kick here, or the double Yoga Kick for a knockout here is so big because there's not another Meditite down. And our opponent is probably going to send up the Carbink, which at the moment can only do, or its base attack is going to do 20 damage, which we can heal off with Calm Mind. So we see another Trainer's Mail. I wonder how many our opponent plays. We see another Trainer's Mail though, and what are they going to find off of this? Are they going to find anything? I think they really need a Meditite and an energy. Probably a Focus Sash if they could this turn. So we'll see here. Our opponent, I'm hoping, did not disconnect again. Alright, good. So we see a Professor Sycamore. And will they play that this turn? They've played 2 Versus Seekers. Okay, so we see a Floatstone come down to Carbink. It's interesting. We see the Sycamore. Wow, so okay, so they discarded a bunch of Focus Sashes. And it looks like they discarded another Versus Seeker, I think, as well as a Fighting Stadium. Yeah, so they're down to 3. They're down to 1 Versus Seeker left, and that is definitely significant. Getting rid of all those Focus Sashes is also significant. If we can find a way to Lysander up Meditite this turn, then we can take a knockout and even still Calm Mind. But the Calm Mind here, not as helpful because we did get hit for 40. So we will draw a Zygarde, and I'll attach to Meditite. Now we're only doing 50 damage here, but if we put down the Regirock, we can do 60 twice, which is enough for a knockout. I'm going to grab Medicham and a Versus Seeker, so that next turn we can get something great going, whatever we really need. Whatever supporter we need, we'll be able to grab. And we can decide then if we want to opt for the going straight into Medicham, or if we want to go for the Carbink break, we're going to put down that Regirock, like I said, so we can take a knockout here. We could play the Professor's Letter. I don't think it's necessary. Since we did get an attachment this turn, we will just Yoga Kick for 60, and then we will Yoga Kick again for 60 more. And what are we going to get off our prizes? A Fighting Energy, okay? Kind of a nice prize, I suppose. And we're going to see a Trainer's Mail out of our opponent once again. And the question is, do they have a Medicham? See a Karina, so they can get a Medicham. They can get a knockout with Medicham this turn. And we will have to promote something else up, which will most likely be the Carbink break. Although we could send up Medicham, take a little bit of a chance, and go for the Strong Energy once again, or the... actually, it's not even really a risk, because we could get the Regirock. I believe the second Regirock we have in the deck, so we would be able to get that. That would be another option. See a Muscle Band going down to Medicham. And that means that the Yoga Kick is doing 70. So, I don't know, I mean... The other option, we could send up Regirock, because we know that we can Float Stone and retreat it. That's another way to kind of, I don't know, avoid... Because we won't ever want to have Regirock in the active again, so it just avoids putting damage on stuff that we really need. But yeah, question is if we can get the Strong Energy or not. Could be kind of important. And we are going to get hit again with another Yoga Kick. And this is going to do a lot of damage. I think it's going to do 90 damage. So, we do see Yoga Kick for 90. And we're going to top deck a Float Stone, so we don't even have to search for the Float Stone with the Karina, which is really nice. This way we can kind of do what we want to do still. And we could attach the Medicham. But I really, really would love to get the knockout, which would mean we'd have to find that last Strong Energy in our deck. And I understand that that's not necessarily the most likely thing. We'll discard a Professor's Letter. Grab something else out of our deck. Regirock. Actually, yeah, so like I said, the Regirock does... That Regirock play also works. So this way we can attach the Fighting Energy. We can still play a better supporter. This way we're doing 30, 40, and 50 with the two Regirocks. 50 twice is enough to knock out Medicham. And that way we can feel safe going for the Sacred Ash. Get back some Pokemon that we may or may not need. Old versus Seeker. We're just going to play a Sycamore again. Sycamore really being the most important supporter this game. And we did get the Strong Energy anyway, so we would have been okay. We'll put down Halucha just so we have a free retreat option if for some reason we lose the Float Stone. I could Level Ball here to thin my hand out or my deck out, but I'll just go for the double Yoga Kick. We will do 50 twice. And again, our opponent's put in a really bad position with only 2 cards left in their hand. What are they going to be able to do? They can't take a knockout this turn. So what are they going to do to fend us off? Now, we still haven't found a way to get a Lysander. Obviously, Lysander would be great, because if they do get another Meditite down, we want to Lysander it. Our opponent only having a 2-1 line left of Medicham, if that is if they play the full 4-4. We see a Karina. What do they grab with this Karina? Let's see here. Karina for, I mean, again, probably a Meditite, and maybe if they have another Focus Sash. I don't know if they play 4 Focus Sash like we would. They might only play 3 because they're playing Muscle Bands as well. Maybe a Meditite and a Versus Seeker? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a floatstone. And I'm a little wary about the whole situation. Oh, we actually see a Carbink break. Yeah, I guess they needed the Carbink break. They also need a Meditite, though. They're going to see a Sacred Ash. The question is, do they get a Meditite down this turn? If they don't get a Meditite down, our opponent's in a really, really, really bad position. They do get back all their Medicham line that was in the discard. But again, do they have a level ball? Do they have a Meditite? It would appear not to be the case. And we just see a Diamond Gift. We're going to see energy go into Lucario. Most likely. Yeah. So we see 2 strong energy going on to Lucario. That's not really a big deal to us. I mean, I don't mind that really whatsoever. Now, we do still have 2 Focus Sash left. It would be nice to have a Focus Sash. We could probably Sycamore this turn. Most of the cards in our hand just not really important for this matchup. So we're definitely going to attach an energy. And pretty sure that's going to be the strong energy. Now, if I attach to the active, we can take a knockout. But now I've opted not to, so I can't actually take a knockout. I think that, I don't know if that's a misplay. It's just kind of an odd decision, I think. But again, it's like I said, you make yourself more end-proof when you attach energies to Carbinks, or a break, that is. And I could Hex Maniac, maybe. That could be good, but the other option is just to retreat. Or I could do the Calm Mind Yoga Kick play. So that way, I just put myself in a better sort of late game position. So if our opponent doesn't get a Meditite down, it's kind of a big deal. I think we could have gone for the Sycamore play there. I don't know if there was necessarily a specific reason why I didn't do that, but maybe just to preserve energy. But yeah, like I said, I think it's usually pretty safe when you have Carbink break with an energy on it. This way, even if something gets knocked out, we can start powering up something else. And we don't have any other Meditites down, and that could be another reason I wanted to hold on. But we do see the N, and so that was sort of what I was expecting. And so glad that I attached. For that reason, I'm glad that I attached to the Carbink break. Especially since if we would have knocked out the Carbink break, then the Medicham would have definitely come up and knocked us out. Whereas now, we have an opportunity to basically knock out anything. So we actually just still see the retreat into Lucario. So they are going to go for the knockout here with the Corkscrew Smash. Again, a little disappointing that we weren't able to find a Focus Sash to put on our Medicham. I think that's part of where the Sycamore play would have come in handy. And they do get to draw their hand up with that Corkscrew Smash. We're going to send a Palucha with free retreat. And now the cool thing is here that I kind of baited him into doing this play, because by deciding to bring up Lucario for the knockout, which is sort of what I expected in a sense, especially if they didn't get a Meditite, now my Carbink break can take a knockout on the Lucario, because we're doing base 20 plus 20 more for the strong energy plus 20 more for the Fighting Stadium plus 2 more Regirocks, which is 10 more each, so that's 80 damage, enough damage to knock out the Lucario EX. And then we had an Ultra Ball and a Medicham in our hand, so now we have another Medicham set up, and we're definitely going to put those 2 strong energies onto that Meditite, just kind of as a show of, if you don't Lysander this Meditite and knock it out, then we're for sure going to win next turn. And even if you do, we're probably still in a fantastic position. And we do get a strong energy off of the prizes, so I mean, now we're pretty much safe from anything except for, of course, a Lysander on the Meditite. Perhaps our opponent will try to N us. And, of course, that would mean that we'd have to draw into a Meditite or a Medicham once again. We do see a Meditite come down, though, with the strong energy. And I'm wondering if there's a reason why they brought up Shaman here. I'm really confused about that. Maybe just because it's got the most HP. And we do see an N, which our opponent did need to do, but we do get a Sycamore off of the N. And I think that pretty much seals the deal. All we need to get here is a Medicham. Oh, wow, we missed the Medicham. Okay, so maybe a little bit over eager there. Was expecting we'd get the Medicham. Now, we can do... Actually, wow, here comes Hawlucha in for the win. That's awesome. Happy to see that Hawlucha can make an appearance here. Flying Press for 60 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20, and it hits through resistance, doing 120 to that Shaming X. And yeah, wow, the power of Hawlucha there. Always love to see that guy make an appearance and make an impact. And so now we are going on to 4-1, going into round 6 of the tournament, the final round. And yeah, it was really interesting after that first match. Wasn't sure what would happen, but we did pull it out. And looking forward to the next round of the tournament. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.